All right, I'm just leaving CrossFit here on Saturday. We did one of these on the drive in. We'll do one on the way back. On Saturdays, we go to a different gym. It's the same, I guess like franchise you'd call it, but like just a different location. But my wife's been sick all week, so I went to this one alone. Do you got a topic today? Just got to pull out of this spot, which is going to be a little dicey. I'm going to put the windows down so I can see better. You know what that's like, right? Okay, not so bad. There's two huge trucks on either side of me, so I just wanted to make sure I could hear and have all my senses going. But yeah, the topic from this morning was submitted. Where is this person going? Figure it out. There we go. Get me out of here. Topic this morning was sent in. This one's also sent in. So if you didn't watch the previous video, that one was about sort of like building projects to gain the experience, because if you're being rejected for not having particular experience for a role, like go make that experience, right? Go build the projects. You don't need to list that you have the experience with that technology on a team. Those are just entirely separate things that, especially for me as a hiring manager, what I would be looking for. Now, with that said, I don't think there's ever been a time in my career where I've been rejecting people because they didn't have a specific technology. Now, if they were good and someone else was good and that someone else happened to have that technology experience, then sure, that's going to make, if only at one position, that other candidate's going to be a better fit. Potentially, right? It's hard to tell everything in an interview, but... So that was a previous video. This one is going to be about doing role changes when you're in an organization and what that looks like. So we'll dive into that. This intersection sucks. And a reminder, if you want particular topics covered, comment on the video, let me know. If you want to do it anonymously, just message me on social media. Pick a platform, find me. It'll be Dev Leader. That's my main channel an alias that I go by on all social media. Code Commute's kind of just like this dedicated vlog approach. But yeah, just send me a message. The more detail that you're willing to provide, the more context I have to work with. Just let me know if you want to keep it anonymous. By default, I will, because I think that's only fair. So go ahead and do that. My mouth is super dry. I apologize. I gotta drink some water, because I know if I start to talk, it's gonna be like fighting against myself. Okay, so doing role changes within a company. This is something that, like, I don't personally have a lot of experience doing, but I have experience actually coaching and managing people going through this. So I feel like I can talk about this. Now, when this was asked, I don't know if the intention of the person asking the question was to ask, like, is this an easier path forward than like just trying to land a software development role? So I don't necessarily want to go into this saying like debating what's easier or not, because there's other roles that you might find if you were applying for them, like they're challenging too. Like, for example, maybe, and I haven't done the research into this, so that's why I'm saying maybe going for tech support roles is actually very competitive right now. Maybe project managers roles are very competitive right now. I don't know. But the idea would be, if you had one of these roles, so if you were working in tech support, if you were working as a project manager or some other role that's not a software developer, is there this, like, what does the opportunity, what does the scenario look like if you wanted to switch into a software development role? Now, my opinion on this is, like, I think there's a couple of really good things that can come out of this for, like, sort of all parties involved. Now, again, I'm not trying to go into this suggesting like, hey, here's like a secret path into being a software developer, nothing like that. But genuinely, if you were in one of these roles, so say you were in tech support, the experience that I have in particular, like coaching people through as testers, so dedicated testing roles that do not develop the product. And I've seen this with project managers as well. So project managers that are not like hands-on coding things. There's, I think, a lot of good that can happen from a business perspective if it's supported at a company. Now, different companies and different organizations might take different approaches for this. They might say, like, no, like we don't have a formal thing for supporting that. Your manager might be like, I don't want to, put the effort into this, like whatever. But I think that like I said, I think there's goodness that can come out of this. And the reason I say that is because if you're an individual who is working in a role that's not for a software developer, if you are like, hey, I'm interested in doing this, I want to get into this, what's going to happen over time is that if that becomes your focus, the thing that you want to be doing, you will start to resent things that prohibit you from doing that. And ultimately, if that's where you want to be going, you're going to be looking for opportunities, whatever that looks like for you, to put yourself into that position. So what that means is that over time, if you have someone who is sort of preventing that progress from happening, you will potentially start to resent them. You will potentially start to lose engagement in the work you're doing. And that's because you don't see it as something that contributes to your forward progress. Right? Now you might for a long time, but I would say over time, if you're, set on doing this change and it's not being supported, I would fully expect that someone loses engagement over time because it's just not aligned with where they want to be in their career growth. So as a manager, like I want to make sure I have engaged people on my team. If someone is coming to me and telling me, look, like this is what I want to be doing, and I'm going, oh, but no, like you have a dedicated tester role, or oh no, you're just you're a dedicated project manager. Like there is no room for you to be a software developer here. Like I should expect that they will lose engagement. And that's going to mean that they're not doing their job effectively. And ultimately, I've said this many times, whether it's been on this channel or just like on my primary dev leader channel, like my goal as an engineering manager is to enable people to do their best work possible. If someone is saying, I don't want to be this role anymore, I want to pursue something else, you better expect that they will be putting their effort into doing that. And if I am not helping enable that, I should expect that they're looking for that opportunity elsewhere, whatever that happens to look like. So I believe it's in my best interest to at least support that. Now that might mean that I have someone who's a very good tester, very good project manager, very good whatever role, and I should expect that I will be losing them, at least for that role. But the reality is that's outside of my control. Like, I think that's the first realization. If someone says, I want to be doing this other thing, that's the direction I'm going in my career, I can either try to not support that and then act surprised when they finally are so disengaged that they leave, or I can put in some amount of effort to make sure that I'm supporting them. Because they're going to leave. They're going to leave if I don't have that role. That doesn't mean that the expectation is that I create that role for them. That's a different story. It doesn't mean that. But I should at least find ways to support them. So that's my philosophy on that kind of thing. And in my career, that's what I've been able to try and support. I have had people on different teams that needed coaching through that kind of stuff. So I've talked with their manager and kind of done this like a sort of like a mentoring system where it's like, hey, this person is going to start contributing some of their time to try working on small features, right? So they're not a programmer by trade, but they've been putting in some extra effort. We're going to give them some smaller features. There's a like a buddy on their team that's going to help with the more day-to-day stuff that they've kind of volunteered for it. And could we have you sort of as like a third party do some more coaching and mentoring as well? And that way you can help gauge, so me in this case, I can help gauge how they're progressing. So I've done that kind of thing. It's been like, months, so like 6 months to a year kind of transition kind of thing. It's not a guaranteed thing, but we've set things up like that where people try to make the progress, we gauge how that's coming along, and I found that it's been very successful. because in the end, someone is getting the support they want for the role they want to move into. And I think a lot of good can come out of that. So another reason why it's in a company's interest, in my opinion, to do this is like, say you want to hire for a more junior role or something. If you're hiring for any role, you end up taking a bit of a gamble always. It doesn't matter how good your hiring system is. Obviously, we want to reduce risk. We want to be very sure when we're hiring. But when you're bringing new people on, there's always some amount of risk that that person is not what you expect when you're going through the hiring. So there's always some risk. Now, what can be really interesting is if you have a good employee, right? You have a good employee and they want to switch roles. You're not guessing at whether or not they're a good person that understands the business, understands how to work in a team, all these things. You're not guessing at that because you have proof of whether or not that's the case. So it's a much lower risk with respect to like fit in a company in terms of behavioral types of things, right? Like you already know and you can already get really good, clear feedback on that kind of thing because they already work there. It's really just a skill assessment thing. And in my opinion, if you're, trying to take someone who's doing a role transition, that person probably needs to expect that they're coming in at a junior level, right? And that's, again, lower risk for a company to be able to say, oh, we know this person's coming in at junior, so it's not like they're coming in at senior and you get totally surprised that they're like, really not skilled or something like that. So I think that can be a really good fit for a company. Now, something that I want to caution people about is that when it comes to, I use like engagement when I talk about this kind of thing, like how motivated or engaged you are. I got to pass this truck in front of me. They're going 30. Holy. And they're going at a speed that's almost like dangerous because people have to maneuver around them. So when it comes to like engagement, motivation and stuff, if you're someone who's like, man, I really want to be a software developer, and you're starting to lose engagement in your role because you're so focused on this type of transition, like this can be kind of dangerous. And it's because you're giving like, it can look like mixed signals. And what I mean by that is like, if someone is like, say you want someone to support you in this transition to a different role, if what they're observing is that it looks like you just don't care about anything, you're procrastinating, you don't care, like your quality of work is dropping all of a sudden, like someone would want to expect that it's because you're so focused on doing something else, right? Like it's, you're losing interest and like that's because you want to do this other thing. But the challenge is that how can they properly gauge that? Because if it looks like you're not even doing your normal stuff with interest and skill and some level of expectations, and now we want to give you something that's arguably going to be even more challenging and new to you, it makes it a really difficult sell to be like, oh yeah, like that's just going to change their attitude around. They're going to stop procrastinating. They're going to be like, everything's going to be better. Like, it's not a good set of indicators. So I would encourage you, if you're going through this type of thing where you're feeling demotivated because you want to be getting this other type of role, you're really interested in switching, try to keep doing a good job in your current role. Try to keep demonstrating that you are a hard worker, right? That you get things done, that you're meeting expectations, you're doing all of these things. And that way it makes it seem like there's a lot more trust that you will be able to do something else that's going to be more challenging, right? People want to support you and they want to believe that you're going to do good work. So prove to them that you're already doing good work. Because if you were dropping the ball on everything and then trying to say, oh, and it's because I want to go do this other thing that I'm not experienced at that's going to be harder for me, it's not like a good set of indicators. So it's going to be a lot harder to get support doing that kind of thing. Okay, a couple more angles to take at this maybe. And I gotta turn at this intersection because I'm almost home. Let's see. So, if you're not able to get these opportunities directly at work, depends on the size of your organization and stuff, like your company. I know, for example, if someone came to me on my team and they said, like, Nick, I want to be a manager, or Nick, I want to be a project manager. Like, I don't have roles like that open on my team. So, again, I want to support them, but I need to be transparent with them. Like, I can't just like create that role. I don't have one. I can't just create it. In some organizations and companies, they might be able to say, like, especially like startups, they might say, you know what, like, we see that you're demonstrating these things and we know that's valuable, like maybe we can make that happen. But like where I am at Microsoft, I am not in a position where I can make that happen out of nothing. So I would need to be transparent with people and say, you know, if this is something that you want me to support you in, like, let's get you focused on projects and things that would enable you to like be leading them, or for like for management style things. If we have interns, like, you should be their buddy, you should be focused more on mentoring the more junior people on the team, that kind of stuff. Like, I can create those opportunities informally and try to do everything I can, but I'm basically explaining to this person, like, look, it's not gonna happen here. So let me support you, but like, let's also be transparent, it's not happening here. And ideally, when that person grows and becomes ready, I would want to make sure that I could try to keep them at Microsoft, right? If I know a team that is looking for that kind of position, would try to make sure that I can support them with a recommendation for that. But otherwise, like, I shouldn't be surprised that they're going to leave to be able to do that. I also do recommend that, like, you don't just look for the opportunities to practice these things, like, at work. Because if you're truly trying to transition to a different role, and the amount of practice and stuff that you get, amount of focus time that you get to do at work in like this new type of role just to like build the skill is minimal, you're probably going to find it really difficult to make the necessary progress. Again, I know some people don't like hearing this, where they're like, I'm busy though, like I have you know, a wife, kids, pets, we got extracurricular things, like we have all these I don't know, like commitments outside of work. I don't have time to go work on this stuff. It's kind of like a hard thing to hear, but it's like, okay, but someone who can make the time for it is going to make the progress. So it feels unfair, but all I'm saying is, like, if you're finding that you're not getting the opportunity at work to be able to do a transition like this, like to build the skills, I mean, you need to find the time somewhere. So I recommend doing a bit of time budgeting, looking where you can drop some things out, reprioritize this over other stuff if it's really that important to you. I think that's a key thing. I think, like I said, some people don't like to hear it because it feels unfair. It feels like they shouldn't have to. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, a lot of things feel unfair, and you got to do it. If you get enough time at work and there's a path for it, like especially if your company has programs to do this kind of thing, that's awesome, right? Like, there may be resources at work that truly enable you to do this effectively. But all in all, just to kind of summarize this, I do think that moves like this within a company can be a really awesome opportunity. I think that there's a lot of benefit in terms of understanding the domain, like the product or the service domain. That's a lot of learning on its own at any company. So being able to have that as a foundation, knowing what the organization's already like, and then being like, okay, now I got to work on these skills. Cool. Like, again, if there's junior opportunities, I think this kind of stuff can work really well. So I would encourage anyone, if you're listening to this, or you know someone that is interested in doing this, then encourage them to do this kind of thing. If that's where your passion and interest lay. So anyway, I'm home. My wife is just pulling in this funky X1 rental. Look at this thing. It's coming. It's awful. Anyway, that's it for today. Take care.